Hey y'all, Rick Sky here, and this is being filmed with the Tamron 28 to 75, and I'm filming this in 50mm at f2.8 in 4K 30. And you can find the camera body and the mic that I'm using. Expand this video's description and then click the link there and you can find it. But just wanted to talk about my thoughts in regards to the Tamron 28 to 75 after using it for the first day. Now this is going to be a a straightforward, honest review. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. And a few things that have impressed me the most about this lens is, number one, using the Sony G Master, the 24 to 70. It's a little bit too big and too heavy for most purposes. Especially if you're hiking, like I do a lot of that. Carrying that G Master around is it's a little less convenient. This lens is very small, it's very lightweight, and it feels good on the camera. The camera doesn't feel like it's going to topple over from the weight of the lens, and that's something I'm always worried about with the G Master. I mean, obviously I've got a good tripod, but it's Tamron wins by a long shot in that department. It's smaller, it's more lightweight, not just for transporting it, but also for using it when it's on your camera. And when you're doing handheld shots, it's just so much better to have something so small and so lightweight. It's almost as good as I use a Batis 25, Zeiss Batis 25 for wide shots, Batis 85 for portrait work. And this is just kind of in the middle, and it's it's convenient to carry along with those other two lenses. Now, experience this first day in the field, this lens does get a lot of flares. So if you're shooting towards the sun, in close proximity to the sun, expect for some flares to appear within your photos or videos. And that's not necessarily a problem. It can give the photos or videos a creative look. However, it is something worth noting that I know a lot of other people that have commented about this Tamron 28 to 75 failed to mention. So with the Zeiss Batis, I never had problems with the sun. With the Tamron 28 to 75, it's something worth mentioning. I mean, even with a UV filter lens hood, you're probably going to see those flares. And it may not be a problem. Depending upon your shooting style, if you're using this primarily for studio work, obviously sun flares are not going to be an issue. So it's a rock solid lens. The sharpness, and from my observations, the sharpness is as good. I'm not going to say it's better, but to me it's as good as the G Master 24 to 70. So there's no sacrifice when it comes to sharpness. Now the autofocus, no problems at all. Now this is the most current firmware. A lot of people comment about autofocus problems with the original version of the Tamron 28 to 75, but that was before the firmware update. So no autofocus issues for me with video or photo. It's been a rock solid performer. Something I would like to see a focus hold button. It does not have that. I would like to see an autofocus to manual focus toggle button on the lens. It does not have that. And it does not have image stabilization within the lens, but neither does the G Master. The G Master doesn't have the image stabilization, but the G Master does have the autofocus to manual focus and the focus hold button. So, having the absence of in-lens stabilization is not an issue for me because I've got it in the camera body. So it's not a concern, but it's worth mentioning. That's something if you plan to use this with a Sony E-mount system that does not have IBIS, in-body image stabilization, in the camera body, then that could be a deal breaker for you. So something to mention there. Now the zoom. The overall build quality of the lens, a lot of people have said, oh man, it feels plasticky and this, that, and the other. Yes, in comparison to Sony G Master, it does feel plasticky, but it does not feel cheap. It's not heavy, it's not big, and with the G Master, you're getting a bigger, heavier lens. Very well made. But for portability and convenience, I like this a lot better, and it by no way, to me, feels cheap. I will say, though, that the focus ring, or not the focus ring, but the zoom ring, is if you're using it for video and you've got on-camera audio, that the sound, it's very silent, but when you zoom in and zoom out, it's kind of a rubbing type sound, like if you were rubbing your hand over your shirt or something. So, you know, that is audible through an on-camera microphone, you know, if that's an issue. But most pro video people are going to be recording their audio externally anyway, and using their own camera audio simply for reference, for synchronizing within post. So, you know, probably a non-issue, but something worth mentioning. And the other thing is, oh, and the zoom ring and the focus ring, they both feel really nice to me. It's kind of a semi-hard, rubbery type feel. Nothing to me about it feels cheap. But again, it's not as nice feeling as the Sony G Master, but it's not an issue for me. The zoom lens, the zoom ring and the focus ring are flip-flopped. So closest to the subject, you know, the end that's facing me, is your zoom in and zoom out. Closest to the camera body is the focus ring, and that's created a lot of grief for a lot of people. Hasn't created problems for me. I'm able to feel and say, okay, this is zoom and this is focus. And most of the time anyway, with my camera body, like this video for example, I'm using autofocus because it's so rock solid. And again, this is f2.8. I'm at about 50 millimeter and 4K 30. So I keep looking at my app here just to make sure that nothing crazy's happened. Speaking of that, autofocus performance of this for both stills and video has been exceptional. But again, I'm using the most current firmware. So people that reported problems with that, they may have had an older firmware version for the lens. The lens's firmware. So yeah, just an overall really good experience. And I have no regrets. I mean, the bokeh, I think looks really good. I mean, for video right now at f2.8, 50 millimeter, I think this bokeh looks good. And you know, looking at it in the app, it looks very nice. I will say, the bokeh does not look, and this is all subjective, but it doesn't look as dissolved, I guess you would say, as the Sony G Master or Zeiss Batis. Now, Zeiss Batis is going to, in my opinion, Zeiss Batis bokeh knocks the G Master out of the water, but that's subjective. But in my opinion, the bokeh from this Tamron 2875 is not quite as smooth as a G Master or Zeiss Batis. So that's, you know, and you're seeing it right now in the background for video here at 50 millimeters, f2.8. So, I mean, you may like that look. I don't know. I mean, it's not bad. I'm not saying it looks dirty. The big thing with bokeh for me is to be able to isolate the subject from the background. So, you know, that 3D type look. So I'm assuming within this video that you're watching right now, that I'm filming with the 28-75 Tamron, I probably look like I'm kind of popping out of the screen. So it's easy to differentiate me from the background. Therefore, I would say that the bokeh, the defocused background, is not distracting. It's not distracting, meaning that you can see me, I'm the focal point, and the background's just kind of secondary. The one other thing worth mentioning is the little, when you line it up with your Sony E-mount camera, the little marker on it. Zeiss Batis lenses and the G Master too, they have kind of like a little raised, like a little circular type thing, so you can feel it. So if it's kind of dark and you're trying to change your lens, that's one thing that they could have improved with the Tamron 2875. And I mean, this is nitpicking, but they could have made it raised so you could feel it with your finger if you are changing your lens in low light situations, or maybe it's raining and you've got it in a waterproof enclosure and you're changing your lens inside of that. It would be nice to be able to feel that. But I mean, I'm sure there's an easy fix. You could probably attach a little, some sort of raised sticker type thing or something where you could feel it. You would just have that tactile feel that's where the little thing is when you connect your lens. So yeah, it's keep looking around. I thought I heard a bear. You know, being out here in Appalachia, you never know what you may run into. But yeah, and you know, I'm just looking at this in the app here, and obviously this is just a real-time view, so it's not as crisp as the 4K 30 video that you're watching right now on YouTube. But I mean, this thing is a real winner, and you know, it's one of those deals. It's like if size and weight were the same for the G Master, if it was as small and as lightweight as this, I would probably still go with, actually I wouldn't probably, I would still go with this lens just because of the price difference. I mean, this thing is a real, for its performance, it's a real bargain in my opinion. But you know, if they were priced the same, I would go with the Sony G Master, only because I think the bokeh from the Sony G Master is a little bit better. The image quality, I can't really say if one's better or not. But, and the other reason I would go with the Sony G Master over the Tamron 2875 is that it's made by Sony. I mean, not that I have anything against Tamron. This is an awesome lens, but typically if someone's buying something that's made by the camera body manufacturer, it's probably going to be more compatible. Not that there's any compatibility issues here. I haven't had any problems with eye focus. Haven't had any problems with you know, anything. I mean, all the features are there. It behaves just like my native Zeiss Batis or Sony G Master lenses. So very happy, and you know, tell me what you think. Have you had experience with the Tamron 2875? Was it a positive experience? Was it negative? Comment below. And again, if you're looking for the Tamron 2875, expand this video's description and then click the link there, and you can find where to order it online, as well as the camera body, the UV filter, and the microphone like I'm using right now as well. Thanks for your viewership, and be sure to subscribe and ring that bell icon to be notified whenever I post another video. Y'all have a good day. Hey y'all, iRick Sky here. Thanks again for your viewership. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that bell icon to be notified whenever I post another video. If you're looking for iRick Sky's Adventure Channel merch, like this t-shirt and a lot of other cool stuff, expand this video's description. You can find it all there. Y'all have a good day.